right, well, it looks as if Facebook is going to allow us to stay on. So let's cross our fingers and hope we make it through the service all the way to the end. It's going to be a good one. Today we are going to be discussing the god and the goddess in witchcraft and what it means. So that'll be exciting. But let's start off with our invocation. Breathe. Get in that center space within. Find that heart and breathe through it. As you breathe, remember to say thank you, for you have another day, and with breath is abundant for your life. We tend to forget about the abundance in our life. We tend to attach our ideas of abundance on things and possessions. And that's not what abundance is. We tend to get in a mindset of lacking prosperity in our life because we put our attention on it, on a financial means of prosperity. And while this is necessary, in order to draw abundance and prosperity into your life, you must first become abundant. And how we begin becoming abundant is we take that breath. It's always abundantly there. There's never been a morning where you've woken up and the air hasn't been there for you to breathe. When we look out upon the grasses and we stop and look at it deeply and see how many blades of grass are in the yard or the field on which you are looking upon. Think about the infinite number of grasses, single blades, and you realize how abundant the earth provides the soft grass for our feet to walk upon. And we look up to the sky and we see the infinite sky. There's never a lack in abundance of the sky. It's always there. When we begin to remember what is around us abundantly, then we can begin to remember how much prosperity truly is within our lives and that we have each and every day. And when we begin to remember to become grateful and remember the abundance that we are in now, then we come from a place that is abundant and prosperous. And that naturally opens the door to natural law, to trigger those laws. The universe never says no to us. And when we come from a mindset of abundant, prosperative life, the universe says yes. Let's give them more reasons to be happy and grateful. And things begin to manifest in our lives in various ways that promote that faith and leaning deeper into that abundant mindset and heartfeltness. And we trigger the glorious natural law of attraction. And what we vibrate abundance out of us through our electromagnetic field. And that triggers that law of attraction, and more prosperity and abundance shows up in our lives. And we are so happy and grateful for these laws that we can begin to get into the rhythm and harmony of, and establishing more of heaven upon earth from ourselves by becoming the bridge, the activator, the will of that which is divine. For we seek the goodness and not what we feel we lack. For in truth, when we understand these laws, we lack nothing. Everything is awaiting for us to step into it. Therefore, we must become within that which we seek to attract. It's the only way it works. And for this, we say thank you. For it challenges us to step out of old paradigm thoughts of fear and lack and not having enough and hoarding, and into a place of service, giving, receiving gratefully, and attracting that which is like you. Remember, like attracts like. If you don't like what you are experiencing, then change your vibration within. The word witch means to bend. What I've just got done describing to you is how to bend with these laws and have them work for you instead of being ignorant of them and just being used by them. It also means wisdom, wise one. And that's the path that true witches seek, is the path of wisdom. To bend natural law by our will, by using our will divinely and going within to become that which we seek. That is true witchcraft. And in the beautiful religion of witchcraft, we give our thanks and our gratitude to a god and a goddess. For we understand that both exists. So our invocation today will be infinite creator that has created the divine masculine and the divine feminine for us to embody and become one within. And we say, thank you, Mother, Father, God, Infinite Spirit, for the wisdom of the ages that is set before us. For when we remember, knock and the door shall open, understanding is made available. When we begin to open our eyes and remember to seek, we shall find. We must find that which we seek within us first. And then the rest is made apparent to us. Through our will, we find divine will. Our will is not exerted outwardly, proper use of the will is sought within. This connects you to the divine will, that of God, Goddess. And this awakens you at the top to remind us that we are the holy child of those divine parents. That we are the witch. And we say thank you for the abundance of life, breath, of sky and earth. And we light our candle within us with the sacred flame of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding. And we remember that we are not alone, and that we are supported divinely by the ancient ones. And while we know there is but one source, that one source is many. And we say thank you as we grow in our knowledge, in our power, in our divine will. And for this we say thank you, thank you, thank you. So mote it be. Well, it's good to see we're still on the air. Good morning, Brittany. Welcome. Good morning, Amy and Mo. I am so happy to see all these beautiful, wonderful faces this morning. So this morning, one of the things we've been doing is in October, like I said, is this is the season of the witch, and we are discussing today. Our topic of discussion will be on the God and Goddess and what that means personally for each and every human being on the planet, whether you believe in God or Goddess or not. Maybe after you're done, you will have a better understanding of what it means and how to access those principles. So hopefully we're excited. So we've been doing the 13 tenets of witchcraft from Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. If you just even want to just research or get a better understanding or get some history about it, I highly suggest this book. I have taught out of this book for many, many years, and there's been some enlightened minds, let's just say, and some old paradigm thinking removed once people begin to truly understand what it means, and the dogma gets stripped away and the truth get revealed. So, all right. So the main, I gotta change glasses before I do that, huh? I'm so glad you guys are patient with me. There, completely different look. The main tenet of witchcraft, the Wiccan Rede, is, and it harm none, do what thy will. Do what you will, but do nothing that will harm another. It's that simple. So one of the things about witchcraft is when a wise witch knows that she doesn't do love spells because she knows she's interfering with other people's free will, and whether it be in this lifetime or another lifetime, we will pay for that. So a wise witch doesn't do anything that will harm another person. Now, we can defend ourselves with energy, but we don't attack with energy. When we do any sort of spell working where we're harnessing and triggering the energies around us, the only time we ever curse is when we lay a curse down, and this is just properly, when we lay a curse down that is in protection. Okay, so a brief understanding of that, let me share with you with what I've done in my home, is around my home, my property line, I have put a curse around my home. And what that means is if you cross this energy barrier, may your intentions be visited upon you threefold, whether they're good intentions or bad intentions. A curse is, it's up to you what sort of intentions you're going to have crossing my barrier. And if you have bad intentions crossing my barrier, ill will towards people in the home, the property, or the animal life, then that will be revisited upon you. It will not harm us. Protection aspect of it is if you're crossing my barrier with good intentions for the property, the people, then that will also be revisited upon you threefold. Therefore, your good intentions you shall reap as well. So when I curse for defense and protection. I don't curse to harm. Okay? I can't say that's true for all witches. There's a lot of them out there that do curse for harm. But just like there's good Christians and bad Christians, there's good witches and there's white witches and dark witches, okay? I personally am not a white witch. I'm personally not a dark witch. I'm a very gray witch, okay? So, and if you want to know more about that, instant message me and we'll discuss that. It's not evil. It's not all white and fluffy. It's understanding, okay? Truth, all right? Truth isn't always white and fluffy. So that's what the read means, and harm none, do it thy will. We don't seek to harm anybody in any of our work, okay? So first, number one, after the read is, we practice rites to attune ourselves with the natural rhythm of life forces marked by the phases of the moon and the seasonal quarters and cross quarters. The natural rhythm of life forces. Those are those natural laws we've been talking about. Number two, we recognize that our intelligence gives us a unique responsibility towards our environment. We seek to live in harmony with nature, in ecological balance, offering fulfillment to life and consciousness within evolutionary concept. So one of the things that we understand is what we call the great work. And the great work is continually unfolding your consciousness and growing so that consciousness itself can be, I'm looking for that perfect word and I'm having problems with it this morning. It's the unfolding of consciousness. It's the continuing of awakening, right? And this is part of that great work, is the more we awaken ourselves within, the more that vibrates out into the world around us. And it helps others awaken too, because there's energies always stimulating us in our minds or in our emotions. And when we become the change we wish to see in the world, then that vibrates out, and that we can be what stimulates people into more of an uplifting life or uplifting day, if it's just brief. So, and that's what we mean, the great work. It's evolutionary. We understand that we must continue evolving consciousness. That's our responsibility. Number three, we acknowledge a depth of power far greater than the apparent to the average person. Because it is far greater than the ordinary, it's sometimes called supernatural, but we see it as lying within that which is naturally potential to all. And that's natural law right there. We know the power is there. And what we seek to do is become in understanding how to utilize and work with these powers to get in rhythm with them. Number four, we conceive the creative power in the universe as manifesting through polarity as masculine and feminine, and that this same creative power lies in all people and functions through this interaction of the masculine and feminine. We value neither one above the other, knowing each to be supportive of the other. We value sex as pleasure and a symbol of embodiment of life, and as one of the sources of energy used in magical practice and religious worship. Today, we're going to be discussing what it means to understand God and Goddess and what that truly means. Number five, we recognize both outer worlds and inner worlds, or psychological worlds, and sometimes known as spiritual world, the collective unconsciousness, inner planes, etc. And we see in interaction of these two dimensions the basis for paranormal phenomena and magical exercise. We neglect neither dimension for the other, seeing both as necessary for our fulfillment. So basically what that's saying is a lot of times people they'll save their Sunday for their spiritual practice or some meditation as their spiritual practice or those type of things. And then they go to their job or they go out into the world and they see that as just everyday life. And what we understand as being a witch, what we understand is there's no separation between the spiritual and the physical or the matter. There's no separation between. It's all one. It's all spiritual. Our everyday life is spiritual when we can attune ourselves to the understanding that there is neither either or, that it is one. And when we can begin to understand that part of our lives is all spiritual. Remember, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're just experiencing what it feels like to be human. But that's not separate of what we truly are. So, 6, we do not recognize any authoritarian hierarchy, but we do honor those who teach, respect those who share their greater knowledge and wisdom, and acknowledge those who have courageously given of themselves in leadership. So we respect our elders. Number 7, we see religion, magic, and wisdom in living as being united in the way one views the world and lives within it. A worldview and philosophy of life that we identify as witchcraft, the Wiccan way. Number 8, calling oneself a witch does not make a witch, but neither does hereditary itself, nor collecting of titles, degrees, and initiations. A witch seeks to control the forces within herself or himself that makes life possible in order to live wisely and well without harm to others and in harmony with nature. And that's one of my favorite tenets right there. And so, be mindful when you meet somebody that is proclaiming themselves to be a witch, not to say that they're not, but listen to how they talk. Listen to how they view the world. Okay? And that'll give you a good idea if they're what we call in the craft nitwitches, somebody who wants to be and likes the idea of what they've heard about it, or are they truly a witch? And by listening to what they say and how they live their life, give you a good indication whether they truly are or not. Number 9, we believe in the affirmation and fulfillment of life in a continuation of evolving and development of consciousness, giving meaning to the universe we know and our personal role in it. We have purpose and meaning here. We also have responsibility to the universe itself, so as well as humanity and the earth. 10, our only animosity towards Christianity or towards any other religion or philosophy of life is to the extent that the institutions have claimed to be the only way and have sought to deny freedom to others and suppress other ways of religious practice and belief. Number 11, as American witches, we are not threatened by debates on the history of the craft, the origins of various terms, the legitimacy of various aspects of different traditions. We are concerned with our present and our future. Number 12, we do not accept the concept of absolute evil, nor do we worship an entity known as Satan or the devil as defined by Christian tradition. We do not seek power through the suffering of others, nor accept personal benefit can be derived only by the denial to another. Again, we don't harm anyone to get the things that we feel that we need in our lives to prosper. We don't harm another. We don't step on someone's back. We don't do anything that would strip someone else of their abundance. So we don't seek to do any sort of harm. Number 13, we believe that we should seek within nature that which is contributory to our health and well-being. So we seek the natural herbs and the plant life and homeopathic ways and remedies in order to keep the body healthy. And we also know that whatever ailment the body may have, most of the time we understand that that's an inside job, meaning it's our root cause of it is either a mental, emotional, or spiritual malady that we either have chosen not to address or that we have just stuffed it so far down within us that now it's beginning to manifest on the physical plane, and now it's getting our attention. So instead of just going and treating the symptom with a pill or whatever, we seek to get in and find the root cause of the pain or the problem or the dis-ease. And we use the earth and the herbs and we use the spiritual understanding in order to be healing ourselves. Okay? So that is the 13 tenets of witchcraft. And I hope you enjoy it. I do enjoy reading it too. I love bringing education to clear up some of these misconceptions of when you hear the word witch or you hear the word witchcraft, of all those old belief systems that said it was evil, and all of these beautiful things that we dance around and worship the devil and all of that. I'm grateful that we have a time period in which we can clear some of this up. So maybe if you like, you can explore it a little deeper and get into the rhythm and the harmony of the moon and just start setting yourself free and understanding natural law and watching your life magically change. All right, so I am going to turn things over now to Reverend Micah. He's going to do our healing service. And after that, we are going to be discussing the God and the Goddess and what that means for you. See you soon. Go get him, Reverend Micah. Give him some healing.
Good morning, everyone. Apparently, I'm here to give you some healing. Now, it's actually a funny thing. A thought has occurred to me about healing. One who would say, my gift is the laying on of hands to usher in a healing aura to a person. I think the best way to describe healing and healers is that through our own consciousness and through some of our energy, it's not necessarily an infusing you of our energy. We present a time to open space for you to awaken your own healing abilities. We are just there to help you raise that consciousness to realize I can heal myself. And the feeling of, I think I should go see a healer, a lot of that is actually influenced by your own healing spirit to get that started. And actually, that's what I want to do for the healing service today. I want to help you realize your own healing spirit. So, if you're comfortable, get more comfortable. And close your eyes with me. We're going to take 3 nice, deep breaths to get us started. As you breathe in, feel the center of your chest, your heart, begin to fill up with vibration. And let your breath out. Feel that build up within within the center, right in here. It feels so cleansing, like waking up and remembering that you're alive. One more deep breath. The breath itself is very cleansing, and it serves a special purpose. Not only do we draw in the breath we need for our lungs, for our cells, and to pump the blood from our heart through our body. Breath itself is life. Every time you take it in, on the physical level, emotional, mental, and spiritual, you're breathing and giving new life to yourself. Feel the center within you. Feel that buildup of energy in your chest. When you think of the heart, we often think of love. Love is very important to heal. In my heart now, I feel gladness. An idea that is so simple, yet so pervading. Gladness and gratitude are the true keys to healing. Whether I lay my hands on you or not, the gladness and gratitude that you feel is actually the key, opening the door to your healing spirit. I want to ask some simple questions of you right now. As you continue to breathe, as you continue to feel the vibration and centeredness in your chest. What makes you glad? What are you glad about? What are you grateful for? It is all too often easy to lose sight of what makes us glad, of where we actually feel that happiness. Sometimes we can't help it. The hustle and bustle of the week can help us lose sight of what's important. In this moment, as you feel your heart beating, as you feel that peace within you, bring to your mind that which you are glad of, that which you are grateful for. It can be a single event, multiple, right now. That healing energy will be what is distributed. Because as you know it and as you feel it, it builds up in your heart. The heart is what carries our blood through our veins. And right now, as you remember your gladness, as you remember your gratitude, that is pumped by your heart throughout your entire body. A body is wonderful. It knows exactly what it needs to heal. It knows how to. And with this energy that you are building within you, your body and your healing spirit know where it needs to go and what it needs to do. Feel the warmth of happiness flow through your very being. Feel the tides of peace and joy wash over you like a refreshing shower. Feel the arms of infinity wrap around you like a warm blanket. And know in this moment that you are well. And we say the prayer for spiritual healing as our joy, our gladness, and our gratitude work on us. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. The healing force is within you now. Feel every ache, worry, just fall off like dust in the wind. Every obstruction is removed. Every blockage torn down. All we feel is the flow of the healing. While you feel this flow for yourself, bring to your mind all those you know that could also benefit from this healing. Be they family, friends, colleagues. Say their name to yourself. Say it out loud. Keep them in mind with the same gladness and gratitude that you hold for yourself. And as you keep them in your mind, we recite the second half of the prayer for spiritual healing. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help, and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of the God and the Goddess. Eternally loving Lord and Lady, Mother and Father, God and Goddess, we, the children of you, gather here so grateful, knowing our healing spirit, knowing that whenever we need upliftment, we simply look within and we find you. We are grateful that this healing spirit is here for the service of restoring us to perfect health in mind, body, and spirit. We stand in gladness and joy that the love we feel is the key to perfect health for those of us and those we love. We are grateful that this healing spirit is never far, always with us. We're grateful that all the obstructions and blockages that we have kept within us are now torn down and removed, so that only the energy of love and life can flow through us, bringing us ever closer to wisdom, understanding, and wholeness. May the healing spirit that we each have be the bridge that connects all of our bodies together, that we may experience the wholeness that we aim to restore in the world, in each other, all for the sake of goodness. Together we say thank you, and we say blessed be. Thank you all for this healing service and spending some time with me. And now, for further discussion on the God and Goddess, I represent to you Reverend Michelle Hale.
Right. All right, here we are again. All right, so we are going to discuss today the principle of the masculine and the feminine. So in our ancient times, okay, where there was a lot of emphasis on different gods and different goddesses, what the ancients understood, and here's where, okay, so if you have eyes to see, ears to hear, what that means is Everything is given to us in a parable. Okay, so there's a surface meaning that so many of the population tend to latch onto. Okay, and then there's that underlying meaning. That's what you're supposed to seek for. That's what it means to have eyes to see and ears to hear, is you get into the underneath of the parable, and then you find the truth. Okay, so in ancient times, I'm just going to go back a couple thousand years because there's history back further than that we're not going to get into today. But basically what I'm going to talk about is in the ancient times, people wrote down or they put on wall paintings and hieroglyphs what they saw in the world. Okay. And what they saw was a masculine, a man, and a feminine, a woman. Okay. They saw the sun in the sky and the moon at night. All right. So what they started to understand is that there must be a god of the day and a goddess of the night. And the moon was her representation and the sun was his representation. Now we can go back. Oh, thank you, Spirit. I didn't even pull that book out. We can go back and look at some of one of my favorite glyphs that show God and goddess, so to speak. And this is the Simplified Kabbalah Magic by Ted Andrews. I recommend it for anybody. I'll show it again. I recommend it for anybody who's starting off on the path. But in this glyph right here, okay, this is really can't wait till we get some technology. You can't read it. At this very top, Sephirah, okay, this is called the Tree of Life. And at the very top of this Sephirah is what is called Keter, okay? Keter is that infinite source on this tree, okay? It's the infinite source on which all things sprung from. It's the unnameable one. It's the unknowable one, okay? But what is its infinite intelligence? We'll call it that, infinite intelligence. In its infinite intelligence, it broke itself in half to serve humanity, okay? And when it did so, on the right hand pillar here is what was called Hokmah, okay? This is the masculine principle, okay? This is the divine father. Over here on the left-handed path is Binah, okay? That's the name of that Sephirah, Binah. And this is understanding, the divine mother, the dark one, okay? So when we see at the top of the tree, and if you've noticed, there's a large abyss in between before you get down into the other emanations, okay? When you see the Holy Trinity. And this is where the Holy Trinity comes from, okay? This glyph is extremely old, okay? It's not just of Hebrew tradition. It's been around much longer. And this is where we begin to understand that Holy Trinity that so many religions talk about, and we begin to understand infinite intelligence, the one of all creation, and then we have the Divine Mother and the Divine Father. And when we begin to understand that what they were really saying, the parable there wasn't so much that, and yes, we have historic evidence that there were beings here that were infinitely more advanced than we are, and that helped us with the pyramids and civilization and agriculture and all this beautiful stuff, animal husbandry. They assisted us with this, and there is proof on top of proof on top of proof throughout all the scriptures, throughout all the religions, throughout all the spiritual traditions, and throughout archaeology, okay? We cannot duplicate what was done with so many of these temples and so many of these pyramids. We just don't have that type of precision even to this day, nor can we fathom how they move some of these stones, okay? So it's obvious that there were divine help. Now, some think that these divine beings were angels. Some think these divine beings were aliens. Regardless of which way you lean, they were spiritual beings that had a deeper understanding of not only physics, but natural law and the wisdom of the universe. Okay, so you heard that, understanding and wisdom. Goddess, God. Okay, the two principles, the masculine and the feminine. And the ancient peoples deemed them gods and goddesses. Okay, so in infinite intelligence, we have all these emanations. Okay, so from the one source, all sprang forth. All right, and it sprang forth in the masculine form, and it sprang forth in the feminine form. All right, so if we look at the phallus of the masculine, it sticks out straight. It's straight, it's forward, okay? If we look at the feminine, the womb of the feminine, it's open and it's receiving, okay? And this is kind of where we see it in our sexual nature, okay? When we begin to understand these principles, then we understand how we can utilize the sexual energies in enhancing our life instead of just using it for procreation or manipulation or just for physical animalistic pleasure. Okay, there is an energy there that can be harnessed and used properly in such a fashion that it can help bring forth manifestations in your life when you begin to understand what the God means and what the goddess means and how to bring them together in that oneness. Okay, to create the child. So when we talk about creating the sacred marriage and we talk about the holy child, when we bring the masculine and the feminine principle alive within us and understand how to utilize both of them, then we ignite the spark within us, fan the flame, so that we can become that divine child of understanding and wisdom. Okay, so that we can have that oneness, so that we can remember that divinity and not the separation. Okay, just because we have God and goddess in witchcraft, we know that they are not separate, nor do we, like it said, value one above the other. We know that both are necessary in order to fulfill the grand work, to fulfill creation. We know that both are necessary to enhance and become that God source within, to become that which is God. Master Teacher himself in the Bible says, "Did I not say ye are all gods? These things I do, you shall go on to do greater works than I." So he understood these two principles. And he had women who walked with him named Mary. You had Mary Magdalene, the divine feminine. Okay. You had his mother, Mary, right? And what we need to understand is this name Mary was not a name. It was a title. It was a title. The word Mary is a title for those women who were initiated in the temples of Isis. So they were high priestesses, okay? And he was a high priest. He was an initiate as well. So he understood the necessity of understanding the divine masculine and the divine feminine in order of creation, all right? And so when we begin understanding in the craft that we are responsible for the lives that we live, then we must begin embracing the goddess and the God form. Well, how do we do that? How do we understand God, goddess? Well, we look at the tree once more. God is Chokmah, wisdom. Goddess is dark, understanding. Okay? So we must start going within our darkness. Okay? To start igniting the intuition. Some of us really already came into this world with expressive intuition, and we understand, it's just been with us, it's a natural. And some of us are just now developing our intuition or the understanding of it. This is all goddess energy, intuition, the moon, the dark night. We have to go within us to explore that dark feminine creation, because here's what a lot of us don't understand is the things that manifest in our life are coming from that subconscious part of ourselves where we hide our secrets, or we don't acknowledge our truths, or we buried it with so much clutter and dogma that we don't even realize that is what is creating. That's the energy that we're creating from. So in understanding the principle of the divine feminine, we delve deep into the darkness. Remember, she's the Sephra it's dark, it's black, right? Doesn't mean evil. We got to get over that old paradigm of thinking that black and dark mean evil. It does not. Okay? It just means unknown, or seeking to understand what is unknown. And that's going through that veil of Isis, going into the darkness so that we can understand, bring that light of wisdom, God principle, to illuminate that darkness, to bring it into the light. Therefore, we can turn it into wisdom. Okay? That's the masculine and the feminine principle. That is God, goddess. Both are necessary to live in harmony and balance within ourselves and within the world around us, and to get into the harmony of the laws, those unseen laws, those powers that we can harness and work with, instead of just being pushed around and have no clue. Again, I use the analogy of gravity. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because you're ignorant of it doesn't mean it will not work upon you. Okay? When we were talking about the ancients, and we were talking about these angels or these spiritual beings or these aliens that were coming down and helping humanity, they're the ones who brought forth these parables. They're the ones who brought forth these wisdoms to give those who were ready to seek and who wanted to find. And that meant the digging, as we were discussing. Okay? So gods and goddesses, if you've noticed throughout history, all have different personalities, let's say. Okay? And what we have to look at is, one of the things that I do when I'm teaching witchcraft and alchemy to people and getting them into the principles of gender is I ask them to get in touch with the goddess, because the goddess has been almost stamped out through the patriarchal system. All right, we don't hear about them. We don't hear about the divine feminine in churches unless, they were talking about Mother Mary, and that's about the only time. We don't have, even most of the women today, because of the way the patriarchal system has moved everything into just a masculine side of things, even most women today don't understand, they don't embrace the divine feminine within them. They lean more in the negative masculine aspect, meaning they feel like they're the ones who have to do it all. They're just as good as a man, that they got to prove themselves, just like men tend to feel like they have to do. And what that does is that creates an out of balance. So even women today, even though they may be beautiful and voluptuous and just, full of the nurturing energy, most women today are leaning more into their negative masculine instead of embracing their divine feminine. So even men and women both need to embrace their divine feminine. The divine feminine principle is that place of creation. Okay, that's why it's dark. Okay, that's why we got to get in there and clear out the clutter so that we know what we're creating from. The dark womb of the goddess. Okay? we must understand that our intent, our pure intent, is the divine masculine. And what we do, and when we set our intention, is we send it and we penetrate that dark womb of the goddess. And the birthing occurs of what it is we seek to manifest. And this is how we use it for magic. Our intention, our thought of it, okay, that is the divine masculine principle. And that's why we got to be very mindful about what we're thinking and what we're intending. Because we're sending that thought as the phallus goes into the womb of the woman, we're sending that thought, or as the seed goes into the womb of the woman, we are sending that seed thought into the dark of Binah, of creation. And so when life begins to manifest and we're not happy with what it's manifested, you must understand this is the child you chose to bring forth. Because you did not choose to clear out. Therefore, you know what you're creating from. And this is how magic works. This is what magic is. You must understand both principles. And this is why in witchcraft we serve the divine masculine and we serve the divine feminine. We bring them together in our creation of a holy child, the oneness. We come and we establish that understanding and that wisdom in our lives. And we begin consciously every day understanding what our intentions are, course correcting when our thoughts are not in alignment with the things that we seek to create into our life, that we wish to put the seed into the dark womb so that we can create, so we understand our magic, so that we know that we too are gods in the creation, and that we have access to that power of natural law. This is understanding the God and Goddess. Now, back to what I was saying is I have people seek out different gods and goddesses because I want them to identify with the personality that they feel most attracted to in the ancient gods and goddesses and all of the lores that we have with them. Because as we said, the one creator split itself apart and then all emanations came from it. So there are many, many thousands and millions of gods and goddesses. Okay? When we seek in our history for the ones that the personalities we tend to resonate with, then there is an energy within us that is in connect harmony with that divine being that came to help humanity in the time period it came. And when we can connect into that energy and understand and commune with that energy, then we can grow from the wisdom it shares with us. And then become that, like that which is. So as we honor our ancestors here on the planet, our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, okay, we also have to honor those divine beings, whether they be alien or whether they be angels or just life that visited upon this earth to help humanity grow. We must honor those ancestors as well. And how we honor them is we look up these different gods and goddesses and we find which one we kind of roll in harmony with. And when we do that, then we can start remembering that energy that we're connected to. Because at some point in the continuity of life and in the art of or in the knowing of reincarnation, you may have resonated with these energies because that was the geological place on which you were. And through cellular memory, that triggers up for you. Or through spiritual memory, that triggers up for you. When we begin seeking the divine feminine, and we begin the understanding of what it means in our creation and in our magic, then we begin into the right hemisphere of the brain. And this is a part that most of us don't use as often as it should be. When Master Teacher Jesus talks to his disciples about casting your net to the right to catch the fish, he's talking about casting your net to the right hemisphere of your brain. That's what he's talking about. And to the unconscious. The sea represents that unconscious, right? Cast your net to the right, and you'll catch the fish that you need to sustain you. Okay? So when we begin shifting into the creative aspect of our brain, okay, and we start leaning into what it means to serve the goddess, what does it mean to get into that divine feminine principle and begin allowing it to establish in us in how we live our lives. What happens is we become more creative with our thoughts. We become more creative with our lives. We don't look at everything in just logic and reason. Okay? And that's where most of us are living today, even the women, as I was discussing before. We lean more into the masculine aspect, negatively at that, than we live in the creative aspect. And then use the masculine aspect to help in that creation. Remember, the man penetrates the woman with his seed, but then his job is done. It's the divine feminine, the goddess, that nurtures that seed, that holds space for that seed so that it can grow into the creation it was meant to be. When we get into the divine feminine aspect of ourselves, then we begin to understand creation and what is necessary to nurture that creation. Another aspect that begins to happen is we become and we understand what being vulnerable means, that it's not a weakness. It's being able to hold space for someone, to allow yourself to be compassionate for yourself and for others, to follow that intuitive process within you when you feel guided and you just intuitively know something, and learn to trust that. That is the divine feminine. That is the sacred goddess. And we have spiritual beings who can assist us in understanding the great principle of gender. Nothing can create without the other. That's why we hold neither one above the other. We need the sun as much as we need the moon. The moon guides the woman's tides. The moon guides the masculine emotion. It's why crime is so much more in a full moon than it is any other part of the lunar cycle. Because it pulls on the tides of emotions, and emotions are the waters within. Okay? And most, not all, but most of our violent crimes are stimulated at a full moon by a man. So he's being guided and pulled by his emotional waters. And if his emotional waters are cluttered and unclean, then he's going to act from that unconscious place. So the feminine principle and the masculine principle isn't just for the separation of man and woman, Both of these reside within us. We have a left hemisphere, we have a right hemisphere. Okay? Right hemisphere, intuition, creation, understanding the lunar cycles and getting into the rhythm and the harmony. Masculine, more of daylight, more of logic, more of reason, forward thinking, linear, order. Okay? Feminine, gestation, chaos. You got to have chaos in order to establish order. Okay? So we take that creation process, and when it begins to start unfolding itself in our minds, then we use the order of the divine masculine and allow it to forward motion. And we apply logic and reason on how to design it. This is God and Goddess. And while we had ancient ones avail themselves to us in the sanctity of humanity and in the forward movement and growth of our species, they were also there showing us what we can become, just like them. And this is why we like to do our research on the different gods and goddesses, so that we can find that personality that we resonate and bring that divinity that we resonate with, that personality, allow it to be established within us. Because we can't recognize anything unless it's already there latent within us. Okay, we're drawn to like attracts like. And while many gods and goddesses have a dual nature, they have a negative aspect and they have a positive aspect. When we seek out those gods and goddesses to understand that personality of history that has described them, then what we begin to understand, we understand our dual nature as well. Because we have a dual nature, we have a polarity as well. And so we begin to master ourselves in understanding that polarity, that dual nature. And these understandings here and this wisdom here is how you understand how to create with magic and what magic really is, what it really means. How to really formulate your intent to penetrate that dark womb of creation. Nothing can be created without the masculine and the feminine principle. Nothing. The only thing that can impart itself without, and obviously it had both within it, or it wouldn't have put it out there like it did, right? Is the one creator. And all paths teach of the one creator. And all paths teach of gender, God, Goddess. And so I honor those ancient ones, those gods and goddesses that came to help establish civilization, to help humanity grow. And while we're not perfect yet as a race, we've come out of the dark ages. And we have freedoms now, more than what we had in those dark ages. So start investigating gods and goddesses. Find who you resonate with. Ask, why do I feel drawn to these? And go into quiet meditation and begin open communion. Remember, there's no separation between the spiritual world and the physical world, only in our minds. And we can change our minds, right? I hope this has aided you in wanting you yourself to go within, using your will properly, and using your will to go within so that you can understand the divinity on which you're connected to. Each one of us are connected to different gods and goddesses because each one of us, through linear genealogy and cellular memory, have all come from different parts of this globe. So what are you the reincarnation of? Let that one sink in for a minute. Think about it. I hope you have a blessed week. Next week, we are going to be discussing what the Sabbath of the season, which is Samhain. Some call it Samhain. Most know it by Halloween. That's next week's discussion from Reverend Micah. And then the week after that, we will be discussing what death really means. I hope you have an amazing week. Enjoy the autumn temperatures. I give you back to Reverend Micah for our benediction. Blessed be.
Thank you for that enlightening message today, Reverend Michelle. Well, as far as announcements go, you already know and have heard what the next week's sermon is going to be. I will be here discussing the history and the meaning of Samhain, what we commonly call Halloween today. Should be very exciting. The next announcement is that this coming Saturday, we are going to have readings in the park. The details have already been posted on Facebook. You can find the event on our homepage of All Spiritual Life Center. There's a list of activities already in there. The price for one reading is or 5 altogether. We'll have bobbing for apples for the kids, a costume contest, a 50-50 raffle. It's going to be an absolute great time. And a drumming circle. And if you have your own drum that you would like to bring, please do so. Add to the wonderful music that will be in our drumming circle. We will also be having Reiki healings under the tree. And our own Reverend James Cito will be one of the Reiki healers under the tree. I highly recommend that you go see him because he may have a reading and a color aura reading in there for you too. Should be fun. Now, I believe that brings it for announcements. So, with what we have learned today about the God and the Goddess, take this with you throughout the week as you look into the history of the gods and goddesses. Where do you see their aspects within you? Who do you feel that you are really aligned with? Because that will help you see what actually you are supposed to be learning in this incarnation of your life. So let's have it for the benediction here as we say our fond farewells. Mother, Father, Goddess, and God, all a part of the infinite one that is many. We thank you so much for this message today. We thank you for the healing that has come from it and for the further understanding of what that feminine energy is, that it doesn't stand apart from us if we are a man, but it is more embodied within us, just like the women of our world also embody the God aspect within them. We are all composed of God and Goddess. We are God and Goddess. Help us remember our Goddess have and bring it into union with the God have. Let the sacred marriage be realized within us. We thank you so very much, and all of us together say thank you for this love and understanding. Blessed be, so mote it be, and amen. We hope that you all have a very, very wonderful week.
Have fun, enjoy the autumn temperatures, and we will see you next week.
Indeed.
Remember, next Saturday on that 19th, this is a fundraiser, and what we're doing with these fundraisers is we're putting it into All Spiritual Life Center's bank account. We're working on that brick and mortar so that we can have live service together as well. So that's the end goal, what we seek and what we're creating here with our God and our Goddess. Mm-hmm. So you have a blessed week. Have fun, and we'll see you next weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.